Ian Timberlake, you are a gentleman. Ian has sent me this t-shirt. Now, he didn't tell me he was going to send me this t-shirt. I don't know Ian. But he's just gone to the trouble of making this and sending it me as a gift. And it's absolutely made my day. It really has. I actually think he sent it a couple of weeks ago, but I've only just received it now because I've been away. So Ian, thank you so much. This is now my official photography t-shirt and I love it, I really do. Now in today's video, I want to talk about workshops. Now don't click the thumbs down button, I'm not trying to sell workshops, okay? If you want to buy something, if I want to sell something, I'll sell this here. Just saying. Now, I shot lots of footage in Iceland whilst on these workshops, and it was very difficult for me to create cohesive material because I was also teaching a group of people and leading them in photography. So I shot a lot of footage that didn't have much context and it was difficult to edit together into a nice 10-minute video. Or it was difficult to fit into a video, so I cut quite a lot out, and I wanted to show some of that footage today because it's actually I quite like it, and there's some good images there, and some of it might be helpful. So I want to do that, and then after we've seen those bits of missing footage, if you want to call it that, I want to talk about the workshop experience and my feelings, because as you'll know, this was my first group workshop and I want to talk about that. I want to talk about confidence, I want to talk about working outside of your comfort zone and everything that goes with doing stuff that you're uncomfortable with. But yeah, let's start by watching some footage. Now this scene that I'm about to show you, this, let me just hang on to just a quick... Okay, so this is me. We'd done a hike up a relatively small hill / mountain, and it was a really grey, miserable day, obviously, because this was at the end of the workshop, and a couple of us decided to leave the main group and head up to a much higher peak. And then from there we got these amazing views and we took some awesome images. Now that didn't really fit into any previous videos because the whole thing was filmed and I didn't really do a very good job of telling the story of where we were and where we were going. But I'm going to play the video now and you can watch this for a few minutes, and it really is a nice piece. Just myself and Alian who've decided to go the extra mile and hike up the second peak, which is a lot higher than the peak we were just on. And who knows what we're going to find, but that's sort of half of the fun for me. Exploring and looking for new compositions and new views. That's what it's all about. We're just reaching the summit now. Oh, this is a short but very steep climb. And I'm hoping when we reach the summit cairn, it's going to be worth it. And I suspect from what I've seen on the way up, the views are going to be magnificent. I breathe you in 'cause you're still on my pillow. Oh, I stay home with you in my head. So we're not disappointed. It's absolutely gorgeous up here, and Jodie has joined us. I thought there was only 2 of us, but now there are 3, so really happy about that. You see everyone else just in the distance down there missing out on all of this glorious, I don't know, what is it? Viewpoint, photography, views, whatever. But what excites me is, hang on, let me make you a bit darker. Okay, what excites me is this viewpoint here. You can't really get the same scale and the same, what's the word? Perspective. You can't get the same perspective from down there. You have to come up high. And it's glorious. So don't quite know what I'm gonna do yet. Panoramic maybe, get the long lens out, probably mix it up a bit. I'm only gonna be here once, so I intend on taking full advantage of this. Amazing. And screaming, now is the time to follow through. We go undercover, I'll be your lover. So we've set up our cameras and it seems that the order of the day is panoramic. It's just, this entire area just lends itself to panoramic. It seems like all I've been doing for the past 2 weeks is panoramics. and there's good reason. It's absolutely stunning. The panoramic I have here just gets this entire landscape in the light. Although it's grey and cloudy and drizzly, the light is still superb, incredibly atmospheric. I've shot this panoramic, I've probably done about 12 frames, f11, ISO 100. I've got a hard edge grad filter on just to give that sky even more mood. Now, when shooting panoramics in a location like this, you need to understand we are never, ever, or very, very unlikely anyway, going to be back here. So if you shoot a panoramic, God, just make sure that your tripod is level. Level your tripod, spend all the time, as much time as possible leveling it. And then once you shoot your panoramic, shoot a little bit wider than you need to, and shoot the panoramic a little bit longer than you need to. And then that way there's going to be no issues with stitching. And then once you've taken your frames for your panoramic, just take 2 minutes, check each image, zoom in, and make sure it's focused, sharp, and well exposed. Because there's nothing worse than coming somewhere like this, shooting a panoramic, only to find the software can't stitch it, or your tripod wasn't level so you'll lose half of your image, or your image is soft. Just take the time whilst on location. You won't regret it.
We're up through night and day. Come on, let me hear you say, let's go undercover. I wanna be your lover. I don't want the games they play. It's not us, so we better.
So I hope you enjoyed that. It was great. It just didn't fit into any of the previous videos really. It was a bit out of context. The next thing I want to show you, the next piece of video, you might have noticed at the end of last week's video or the previous video, I'll link to it here, there was a little end sequence where I mentioned that when not to use a polarizer. And now with these end screens that you get at the end of the video, you're only allowed 20 seconds. So I tried to like stick this little piece of advice onto the end of the video in 20 seconds, and it didn't really work. So here's the full scene. So this is me taking an image of some rivers in a valley leading up to mountains. It was all cloudy and moody, and the image is okay. I quite like the image. It's not one of my favourites by any stretch, but what it does demonstrate is that actually it's not always wise to use a polarizer, because when you polarize an image, you get rid of glare, you get rid of reflections. And in this instance, well, you're going to see the video in a second anyway, but in this instance, the glare and the reflections on the river were giving the image contrast, and when you take that glare away, you kill the contrast and flatten the image. And I thought it was quite interesting, because quite often I show how to use a polarizer and when to use a polarizer, but there are as many situations when you shouldn't use a polarizer, and this, which I'll play now, this demonstrates it quite well. So exploring this small area, there is a nice wide composition which I think works quite well, and it's just using these rivers here to lead you up to the lovely colourful mountains in the background. We have the waterfall somewhere there. There it is, we have that waterfall, which is a nice feature, a nice subject, a nice detail in the image. We've got these moody dark skies with the clouds we lose the mountains and the clouds, which it's quite nice, It's it's a very moody atmospheric shot. I've dropped in a 2-stop soft edge graduated filter. Now, you may think it's wise to use a polarizer because of all this water and atmosphere, and you can create more contrast and cut through it. Well, let me tell you, it is not always a good idea to use a polarizer. And I'm going to take this image, and then I'm going to demonstrate to you why it's not a good idea to use a polarizer and why I haven't got a polarizer on my lens. So first of all, I'm going to take this image f11, 1/10 of a second, and it should just be a really nice image using the rivers to lead you up to the mountains. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, so Polarizer is on the camera, and I am now going to switch. I'm going to switch to video on this camera so you can see what I'm seeing, and we will demonstrate why a polarizer in this situation isn't necessarily the best idea. So there's the image with little to no polarization, and we can see the rivers are lovely and bright as they reflect the sky, which gives great contrast to the image. But if I spin the polarizer and remove the glare from those rivers, look at that, we almost lose the rivers entirely, that you almost can't see them. So now the image has no contrast at all. Although the polarizer is a great tool, knowing when to use it is key to having success. And there you go. So you know, polarizer, great, but really it's all about using it in the correct situation. So what I really want to talk about is why it's taken me so long to do workshops. And a lot of that is down to my own confidence and my own self-esteem and my own anxieties and inhibitions and that kind of thing. So I'm a massive believer in the fact that you really, really need to work outside of your comfort zone in order to grow, in order to improve, and in order to learn. Now, for the past couple of years at least, people have been asking me, are you going to run any workshops? If there are any workshops, I'd be interested. And my answer was always not yet, because I didn't feel comfortable. I was worried that the weather would be bad, for example, because sometimes when I go shooting by myself and the weather's terrible, I just lose motivation and I don't get any images, and a full day can be a complete write-off. And the thought of that happening with paying customers was a big no-no. So that in itself put me off, because the one thing I can't control is the weather. So my worst nightmare was encountering bad weather on a workshop that I was hosting. So that was a big reason for me not running workshops for a long time. The second reason was I was really worried about people asking me questions that I couldn't answer. I was worried about not delivering a good workshop and not delivering or adding value to customers. And that was enough to make me just think, yeah, I really don't want to do that. I was uncomfortable running a workshop. So to commit to this Iceland workshop really, really was jumping in at the deep end. You know, I thought if I'm going to do it, we're going to do it properly. We're going to go into the mountains, we're going to go hiking, we're going to go camping. I want to do all the things that I love about landscape photography. And running up to the workshop, I was so nervous, I was terrified. I had this anxiety in my stomach. What if I miss my flight and I can't get to Iceland? What if I get sick? You know, camping in the mountains, what if I get the flu? And then my worst fears were realised: the weather. The storms that were forecast for that second week were just gut-wrenching, and I felt so sorry for myself when I saw the forecast, and I was just like, typical. I mean, it is a fact that the bad weather follows me. We all know this. You go back and watch any of my videos, the chances are there's going to be bad weather and rain. It's just one of those things, and yeah, it's just, I don't know what it is. But what I learned and what I soon realised is that actually my worst fear happening was nowhere near as bad as I thought it was going to be. So when the rains and the winds and the storms came, all it did was make us work harder at our photography, which in a way is a great thing. It's a really, really good thing, because it meant we went exploring and we were looking for images rather than just turning up to these gorgeous viewpoints and taking amazing images that were there on a plate. We had to work for our images, and what we learned was, you know, we learned a lot about ourselves and what we love about photography. And it isn't always necessarily creating these stunning images with gorgeous light. Of course, that's amazing and that's always a bonus, but it's the satisfaction you get when you go and you create images in these hostile places, you know, in these hostile conditions. And it's such a good exercise. And actually, I think the bad weather was a blessing in disguise, because it made us work with the conditions. And all of a sudden it just opens up this world of photography. Now, don't get me wrong, of course, when I'm out by myself and there's bad weather, if I can't be bothered, I can't be bothered, I won't go and shoot. But sometimes I will try and shoot to the conditions, but probably not as often as I should. And what this workshop taught me, not the candidates, not the other photographers, not the paying customers, what it taught me was that going out and just working with the conditions and kind of accepting it, that was the best thing I learned from this. And the weather was exciting, and we did really well. It was hard because we were wet and cold a lot of times, but we all pulled together and worked as a team, and it was excellent. So that was way outside of my, that workshop was so far outside of my comfort zone, I can't tell you. But once I got outside of my comfort zone and I started to just get stuck in and work, I soon realised that this is awesome. This is what I need to do more of this. So now I feel like my comfort zone has grown and it's expanded. I've expanded and grown, and it's liberating. And it was the same when I started a YouTube channel. I was so uncomfortable filming myself, and I don't know if you've read my ebook, but I didn't tell anybody. You know, my YouTube channel was my dirty little secret for like 6 months. I didn't tell any friends or family because I was so embarrassed, and that was, you know, that was really uncomfortable for me. But once you get outside of your comfort zone, you start to learn, you start to get used to it, like filming in front of people. I'm still terrible at filming in front of people, but I can do it now, and it's great, and it's liberating, and it opens up new doors. So, you know, I am waffling on a bit, but basically what I'm trying to say is my message to anybody watching this is, if you want to go for something and you want to achieve something and you want to do something new that you're uncomfortable with, just do it. Just try and find the courage and do it, whether that's starting a YouTube channel, whether it's traveling by yourself, whether it's starting a workshop or even going on a workshop. It's what makes you know, these things that make you uncomfortable, they also help you grow massively. And from experience, it's the worst scenario is never, or very rarely, as bad as you think it's going to be. So just go for it. So thank you so much for watching, and as I mentioned earlier with my cheeky little information card, my 2018 calendar is now available for pre-order. All pre-orders will be signed, and the price includes free worldwide shipping. But I'm going to talk more about this in the next video. So thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye for now. Today I'd like to discuss the importance of planning and preparation with your landscape photography, because I haven't done any planning or preparation whatsoever. The sky's just kicking off really nice now. I didn't expect this, I did not expect this. The sun went behind a big bank of cloud,